Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. This is yours truly, Coltureshock. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is the post-game reaction to the Week 7 matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Los Angeles Chargers. Before I get into it, I have to say I appreciate all the support from all platforms, even during the live stream games when I'm watching the game with you guys and interacting in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. Follow me on all platforms, Phone the Blue Stable, or all platforms as well. Let's go ahead and hop into this game. So, I'll be the first to admit to say I was wrong about the score prediction. I thought it was going to be low scoring. I thought both teams were going to play polished football, try to limit the mistakes, but I was surprised. I thought the Chargers was holding up the bargain of what I was expecting, but the Colts, on the other hand, was rolling on the offensive side. So the score wound up being 38-24, Colts victory. The Colts are now 6-1, sitting alone at the top of the AFC. One of the best teams in football right now, probably the best team in football, all being ran by the best running back in football and Jonathan Taylor, who happened to have another amazing game, this time going back to SoFi Stadium for the second time. This time, he did not disappoint. He walked away with the dub, running and dealing the whole game. And he was pretty much on the sideline for quite a while. Towards in the end of the fourth quarter, if you guys can remember, the Chargers had the ball for almost 10 minutes. They had it for almost 10 minutes. Did they score? No. The Colts defense was gassed. Latu was on the side with the oxygen mask trying to get some life in him because he was just on the field just running. Now, before we get more into the game, let's go ahead and go over the score breakdowns for you guys that did watch the game or might be just hearing this for the first time to get the reactions. You guys let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about the points. What was going through your mind as I read them off. So starting off in the beginning, Jonathan Taylor was the first person to get points on the board. That opening drive was so crisp and clean. Him and Tyler Warren was pretty much doing most of the damage alone going down the field. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 23 yards for the first points on the board. We wound up missing an extra kick. So there was a sense of worry just a little bit with Bagley when he missed that first kick. I was like, okay, he missing the kick. I'm not so sure how this game's going to go. But the defense wound up coming out, having a solid drive as well, but wound up holding the Chargers for 3. They looked like they was about to put up some more points, but the defense held their own, wound up holding the Chargers to 3. Later on, but after that, second quarter, Daniel Jones comes down the field, wheeling and dealing. Jonathan Taylor doing damage. Daniel Jones dissecting the defense. Wind up finding Michael Pittman Jr. in the end zone for a touchdown and wind up putting up the score 12-3. So then after that, we get the extra point. We actually make that, which was good. So the score is 13-3 at this point. You know, the defense is doing some numbers in the second quarter. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good game because the defense is showing up. The offense is showing up. We're still losing some players on the defensive line, rotating pieces, but the defense is showing life in the second quarter, which was a good sight to see. The Colts wind up coming back down, scoring another touchdown. This time it's Tyler Warren getting in the end zone, wide open, uncovered. They just did not have an answer for Tyler Warren all game. He started off at blocking on a lot of plays and then just wound up running out as a receiver. Most of the time he's open, he's uncovered, a lot of space to cover, a lot of space to run. And this time he got in the end zone, wound up scoring, so now the score is 20-3. And then at the end of the half, we wind up getting 3 more points. So now at this point, the score is 23-3. So going into the half, I was asking myself, the Colts offense look like they can't be stopped. But can the defense carry the momentum into the second half? A lot of Colts fans know how this team comes out in the second half, especially on the defensive side. They wind up laying an egg or, just going invisible. And that was kind of the case. The Colts defense, the third quarter going into the fourth, wind up, giving up a lot of yards. And, of course, I'm going to give it to my thoughts later on in the situation. But that was one of my predictions going into the second half was how was the defense going to come out. And how the offense was scoring so easily, you knew they was going to stay in the game and pretty much will us to victory if that was going to be the outcome. If the offense got the ball at the last second and it came down to the final points, the offense was going to get it done. So I wasn't worried about the offense at all this game. It was more so in the defense, and it wound up showing. So starting in the second half, the Chargers walked down the field with ease, wide open in the opening drive. Justin Herbert found Quentin Johnston for a touchdown. He was pretty much absent this game, but he did find him in the end zone wide open at the touchdown. And then they kicked the extra point, so now the score is 23-10. Right after that, in the blink of an eye, the Colts walked down and got a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, another touchdown for him. So now the score is 29-10, and they convert to 2-point conversion due to the missed field goal at the beginning of the game. So now the score is 31-10. So I'm like, okay, we can breathe a little bit. But the defense again, letting the goose egg up. Just the Chargers walking down the field. Justin Herbert finds Keenan Allen in for a touchdown. So now the score is 31-16. They kick the field goal, makes it 17. So now the score is 31-17. After that, the Colts get the ball back. Daniel Jones said, "Don't worry, we're going to try to keep the lead up." Finds Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor runs up the middle for a touchdown, 19 yards. Jonathan Taylor was unstopped this game, which was bound to see because in my prediction video, I said they should rely on Jonathan Taylor this game. The Chargers are not good at stopping the run, so they should find a way to get Jonathan Taylor, who's the best running back in football right now, try to get him the ball and just will you to victory, and that's what they did. So now the score is 38-17. Fourth quarter comes around. Justin Herbert's walking down the field again. He finds his tight end Gatson, who was dissecting the Colts defense. Gaston scores. The score is 38-23. They kick the field goal. Then the Colts wind up they wasn't able to do anything. They gave the ball back to the Chargers before they wasted a timeout. Because when the Colts was going to go punt, they switched into a hurry-up offense and brought the offense back on the side to bring them back on the field. So the Chargers thought, oh, they're switching it. So they try to get their special teams on the field in time. Wasn't enough time, so they had to waste the timeout. Beautiful clock management, by the way, by the Colts and Shane Steichen. So with that being said, when they punted the ball, Rigoberto lands a beauty, puts them almost in the end zone, pretty much like the 4-yard line. So the Chargers had to walk all the way down the field, waste so much time. They kept them in the field. They didn't keep them off the sidelines, so they wasn't walking out of bounds. So as the clock was running, they were moving up the field but couldn't get out of bounds to stop the clock, wasting timeouts, things of that nature. By the time they got to the goal line to try to score, DeForest Buckner got a sack, and that was pretty much the end of the game. So the Colts defense at the end wind up holding their own and getting the job done, which was the most important, kind of like the resemblance of last week with the Cardinals game, getting to, actually finally getting the stop. They got it. And, credit to that defensive line, DeForest Buckner wind up stepping up big time when it happens. Even Zaire Franklin, he was pretty much in coverage against McClunky. Beautiful coverage play from Zaire. A lot of people slander him in pass coverage and things of that nature, but he stepped up when it's needed. Again, in the same instance, just like the week before, when we need them to step up, that's when they did it. So give a lot of credit where credit is due. I know a lot of people are, pretty much upset with how the defense looks and things of that nature, but they stepped up when it matters, regardless of the situation. And no matter how many people we had out there on the field, who was injured, who's not, when we needed them the most, that's when they stepped up, because it was a 14-point game at one point. And it was like, it was on thins and needles. It was like the Chargers might try to pull us out, because if anybody know the Colts like the Colts of the past with Gus Bradley and the Eberflus and those guys, when they have the lead, they can mysteriously lose it. Like the Vikings game, for example. They lose the lead and wind up losing the game. They're just a whole momentum shift in the second half. So this is not the same team. I will be the first to say it. So the Colts wind up holding their own, holding the lead, and getting the job done. And a lot of that credit has to go to the offense. But we cannot discredit the Colts defense. The Colts defense lost so much talent, not in just this game alone. Even before this, like I said, with the Ward injury, he's going to be out for 4 weeks, going into 3 weeks after this week. But they lost their star corner. They got a rookie out there on the best receiver, and they held their own. Mekhi Blackman had himself a phenomenal game there. He got cooked on a lot of plays, but he held his own as well. So we got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Grover Stewart. Grover Stewart was the guy that had the boss man guitar walking in today. He got himself an interception. Big man interceptions are always the best. So shout out to him. He had a solid game. DeForest Buckner, he gets the MVP for today, holding this defense together as much as he could. He's being double covered and still was able to make stops. So give him credit. Zaire Franklin, like I said, played a good game. Give him credit. Pratt was out there on a few plays. Nick Cross was another guy that comes out of mind. They had a beautiful game. Even though there was a lot of missed coverages and things of that nature, just like miscommunication, that's going to happen when you pretty much banged up. But I think Nick Cross had himself a solid game besides the interception in the end zone. But, like I said, the Chargers struggled in the red zone trying to get points. But this defense held their own when they could. Of course, the Chargers scored a few times, but, the Colts still held them to under 25 points, which was a good game, in my opinion. So, like I said, anytime you can hold a team under 30 points, like I said, close to 21, it's a good game. But, The last touchdown that they got was Mekhi Blackman got the flag for pass interference. Was pretty much walked them down the field. Herbert threw a bomb to the sideline down the field, and he wound up getting the flag. Now, he still completed the pass, but the flag pretty much walked them down the field regardless of the situation. So, but like other than that, other than those miscues on the flags, like I said, the Colts played a pretty clean game. They just got beat up a lot, and that's just due to the defense being banged up. So I can still give credit to the Colts playing a good game, regardless of the situation, offense and defense. This defense, regardless of what you may say, Herbert, if you look at the numbers, they say, oh, Herbert had almost 500 passing yards, but he couldn't really get in the end zone to score. So most of those is like empty calories. I mean, of course, you're going to throw for almost 500 yards against a team that's banged up. Kenny Moore is out there limping around, but still making plays. That's another person I want to give credit to. Kenny Moore had a pretty solid game for a guy that's injured, coming off an Achilles injury, still trying to go out there and play to win a game. Give credit where credit is due. I think Cam Bynum had a good game as well, so give credit to him as well. Neville Gallimore is another guy that had a pretty solid game. Latu got a sack at the end of the game, but the biggest reason of the Chargers staying in it was the pass rush. Now, if you look at the pressures and things of that nature, you're going to say, oh, if you look at PFF or things, the Colts, they put a lot of pressure out there on Justin Herbert. Yeah, he got pressure, but he was still able to get the ball off a lot this game. And that's just unacceptable. And this is an issue that the Colts been having for multiple weeks. The pass rush getting to the quarterback, but not bringing him down. He still have a chance to get the ball off. They just not finishing the job. Pass rush getting past the offensive line, of course. Think of beauty. They're going to do that. But actually bringing the quarterback down has been one of the biggest problems for the Colts defensive line since the beginning of the year. And we knew that was coming in. Coming in the season, we knew that this pass rush was missing that it factor. Of course, Latu and them, they're going to win their reps. Like, especially against this game against the Chargers, they had like third strings out there in that offensive line. You was expecting the Colts to have a record number of sacks, but they just could not finish the job all week. The tackling was poor. Bringing the guys down was just bad. And it was stellar. The pass rush at the end of the game when we needed it, DeForest Buckner was like, you know what, I'm going to end this game myself. So he did it. But the run defense, phenomenal. There was no problems when it came to the run defense of the Colts stopping the run. They pretty much held them almost under 100 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. There was 100. They had 54 yards rushing. So they could not run the ball at all, which was a good thing to see. Justin Herbert threw the ball almost 60 times, and that's unacceptable, especially for the Chargers. I mean, he was dotting us up, but he couldn't get in the end zone. That's because the run game wasn't working. So I still give credit to the defense for holding this team to actually – I was expecting them to do a lot more crazy things just due to us having a lack of depth on the defense. But the defense still held their own, and, they got the job done. They were scoreless in the second quarter and barely scored in the first quarter and couldn't score in the fourth. The third quarter was like the biggest uh-oh. But other than that, I think they pretty much still held the Chargers in range of not really doing much, and they let the Colts play their pace of football. Whenever the Colts got back on offense, they was completely energized. They had full energy, and they went out there and willed the deal. Now, of course, the defense couldn't get off the field, but the fact that they could get off the field and still couldn't get the Chargers to score in certain moments, that should give a little bit of credit to them. So credit to the defense for holding on regardless of the situation. Being banged up, not having star players out there, and not being fully healthy, and still winning the game says a lot, man. So we got to give a little bit of credit to the defense for just holding on at the end. But overall, the offense, like I said, is probably one of the best offenses in football. You can't argue it at this point. These guys are playing out of their mind. Daniel Jones, like I said, it's got to be an MVP consideration. Jonathan Taylor got to be an MVP consideration. Give credit to those guys. The offensive line has to get a lot of credit. Jonathan Taylor, try to give him credit every time when he scores, goes out there, hug the offensive line, because a lot of people just goes unnoticed of what they do. But Alec Pierce, he gives a ton of credit. I know his contract's coming up and a lot of people want him back, but he shows it every week. Those games when we needed him and he's out there now, he shows you, wow, how important he is into this offense, man. That guy was making so many amazing plays this week against the Chargers, man. This guy is a beast. So give a lot of credit to Alec Pierce. Give credit to Michael Pittman Jr. Tyler Warren, of course, you can't go unnoticed without him. A.D. Mitchell was out there at the end of the game. He made a big play to, advance the ball up the field. On third down, I would say he made a big catch on third down. So, it was good to see him out there on the field. We thought we was going to use him more, but we really didn't. We seen a lot of Robbie Gould out there, and Gould was pretty good. In special teams, Amir Abdullah is another guy I have to tip my hat off to. Amir Abdullah played amazing football today. That return for 88 yards, I wanted him to score so bad. I wanted Abdullah to score so bad, man. Abdullah played some good football. Even when he got snaps at running back, he made some big runs. And there was a whole drive when, he came in on third down and got the first. He was just, him and Jonathan Taylor is an amazing duo. You having him come in after Taylor is something you can't ask for. He's a vet too. So, having Abdullah out there after Jonathan Taylor, it's a good running back group to have. Definitely a good running back group. But, like I said, the offense was playing out of their minds today. So that they give all the credit. I thought the Chargers defense was going to show a little bit more effort. But like I said, that defense just got to figure it out. And the offense for the Chargers, their scheme that they tried to draw up, it just doesn't give them enough points. Like I said, it can get them down the field, but when it comes to actually scoring sometimes, it's just not going to work unless the defense has miscommunication to leave someone open. That offense is kind of rusty. That offense for the Chargers is a little rusty. Like I said, it can get you down the field. But the run game, they don't have any run designs that's working. But pass games, for Herbert, if he has time to throw, he's gonna make something happen. But like I said, play wise, trying to get in the end zone, it was a no go. The Colts defense, like I said, it gets a little bit of credit, for holding on at the end. But the offense gets majority of the credit for playing good football and just walking down the field with ease. So, like I said, the Colts, they won another game. They're 6-1. They're going off into the sunset, having a good victory week. Moving on to next week, which is a division game. We'll talk about that more later in the week. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this game. How do you feel? And we'll be back after that. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll see you guys next week.